Welcome back to the Alliance Gold Digger podcast. Today, you are in for a treat. We get the opportunity to sit down with Kristen Winzeler, also known as Mom to Grayson. She has generously offered to speak with us about her experience as a parent to a child in need of orthotic intervention. Today, we hope you find encouragement to move forward in strength and courage, no matter what the circumstances are. Welcome, Kristen. I'm so glad you're in our Mulberry location. We are talking about pediatric orthotics, and you're the perfect person to talk about what it's like to have a child who needs this. And in your introduction, talk about your family, talk about your other kids. Give us a picture of who the Winzeler family is.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here with you guys. I am a wife and a mother, and those are the two most important roles that I think I carry. My husband, Mickey, and I, we've been married for 11 years. He's an amazing man. He's a high school math teacher, and he's the one who makes hard days better, and he makes everything more fun. And we have two beautiful babies. Grayson is 6, and Charlie Kate is 4. Grayson is our tender-hearted, empathetic, deep thinker, always asking questions, very curious, and he's our warrior. He's such a trooper, and his little sister is our fiery little brings humor to everything. Yes, that second born.
Yeah.
And she just loves imagination and dancing, and she is a fierce protector of Big Brother, and she is his biggest cheerleader. And it's just such an honor to be able to call mom by them. And we have 2 fur babies. We have a yellow lab Navi, and we just added a sweet golden doodle Sheba, who is actually Grayson's medical alert service dog for seizures. And so we're really fortunate. We're really blessed.
That's awesome. Thank you for introducing us to your crew. Now, you're a part of a fun club, and this club is for kids who need orthotics. Will you tell us how you found Alliance, why you're using orthotics, and line it up from beginning to where we are now?
Sure. We, I think we were introduced to you guys when Grayson was about a year old, and he had an in utero stroke, either very late in pregnancy or during labor and delivery, and that caused some pretty significant brain damage. So he is missing almost the entire left hemisphere of his brain. And due to that, he has the diagnoses of cerebral palsy, epilepsy, and neurodevelopmental delays. So he is right side affected, and he needs some strength and support on that right side. And our amazing therapist recommended you guys very early on, and we sort of just got lucky in that. So we've been here, I guess, about 5.5 years now. And it's not necessarily a club that when you have kids, you think, I want to join that one.
Right.
But now that we're here, we just understand the value of the team and the tools. I think when you envision your little one, you don't necessarily envision a helmet or braces or a prosthetic. But when your child needs those things, I think finding a team like Alliance it's essential. It's truly just changed his prognosis and just added such a layer of support for him as he moves forward.
That's great. Thank you so very much for sharing that. I was thinking about talking about all the appointments you have to go to. What does it look like? A day in the life for a kid who has CP, as well as the seizures that you're describing. How do you manage it all, and what does it look like?
Sure. I think like any mom with littles, it's busy. It's always busy. Yeah. We're lucky enough I homeschool, and so I get to be home with my babies all the time, which I'm so fortunate for that. I love that. So a lot of days Grayson has appointments either at the clinic for PT, OT, and speech, or he might have appointments with specialists and different things. He might have castings and fittings here with you guys. So we have to navigate a lot of his schedule around those appointments. But then we also try to fit in the fun and the homeschool and just the family time and letting him be a kid, which I I think for a kid like Grayson, it sometimes is a hard balance of just having days of play,
right,
when we don't have to be in appointments.
So CP is such a wide range.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be willing to talk about kind of what struggles or issues Grayson has and kind of how you are navigating, how your family handles it?
Sure. They tend to change over time, to be honest. I think when he was little, we felt like the cerebral palsy diagnosis was like, this is just a physical thing. This is something that if we can help his little body to work harder and to connect with his brain to that right side, that this is sort of just physical obstacles that he'll have. And while we certainly have had that for a kid like Grayson, things are just harder for him. It's harder for him to navigate his environments. It's harder for him to navigate the world around him physically. And that's where those braces and things are so helpful. But there's also this element that as he gets older, we're learning, due to the brain damage and due to the seizures, there are these other avenues that are challenging for him, the social, the emotional, the behavioral, and those are still a little new for us. So there's a lot of challenges, and a lot of those can ebb and flow and change as he gets older. But overall, he's doing incredible from what they told us would be his prognosis to where he is now. He's truly he's a miracle. That's what he is. So
that's beautiful. If you don't mind sharing, tell us what the doctor said. What did they say, and how did you handle that?
Let's see. We got his CP diagnosis about 8 months old, and about 2 months later, I noticed some patterned movement that as a mom, I just felt like that's not right. And I was the only one who saw it. But
of course,
I sort of pushed my way into neurology and said, like, I think he needs to be seen again. And we were sent to the hospital for about a week. He was diagnosed at that point with epilepsy and something called infantile spasms. And while we're in the hospital, they did his first MRI and sort of wheeled that computer image in, and it was pretty blaring right then. And as a mom, sort of in shock, I said, will he ever live independently? What will this look like? And the neurologist said, we don't know that he'll ever walk or talk or live independently. We have no idea, but probably not. So it's those words are pretty jarring when you're holding your baby in a hospital bed and being told that about their future. But I also recognize that in that moment, the Lord had his hand on us in a way that I'm not sure I can describe. I heard those words and they hurt deeply, and they were something that I've had to work through in years since, but I also felt his hand telling us, I'm here. And that's not what I have for him. So we have been very fortunate to feel his protection and his presence in a way that I'm not sure I could have experienced in any other circumstance. So,
And for the audience, I want everybody to know, Kristen and I have never met until today. This is our first time. Our commonality is my awesome husband, and he is their clinician. And so Grayson comes and sees Jason on a regular basis. And I was told I need to interview this mom because she's got a testimony of faith where we all believe it's seeing something that is unseen by the natural eye. And you had that. So tell us how that faith led you to, well, this is the right next step, because you had the intuition, as Jason always says, I listen to moms. That's rule number one in all care at our clinic. We listen to moms because moms know things. You knew he needed to go to this other appointment. What did you know next?
I think that's why I think Jason is so wonderful, because I think listening to a mom gut is, for me, probably the bottom line of finding someone on Grayson's team. Like, are they willing to listen to a mother who knows their child better than anyone?
After you got that diagnosis from that doctor, what did you know to do next?
I think that in that moment, while I very much felt the Lord and I knew that Grayson was going to be cared for, it still was challenging to make next steps. You feel very overwhelmed. You feel the burden of those decisions. And I think any mom feels the burden of decisions for her children heavily and making right choices. But I think that for a parent of a child who has extra needs, those decisions feel heavier. They feel like you're making choices for a very long-term impact. So for us, we were already in therapy. We knew that we were in a good place for that, and we were gonna go forward hard at therapy, and we were gonna get him what he needed regardless. And medical decisions are tricky sometimes. You're navigating choices about seizure meds and the side effects of those, and you have to. They essentially tell you, would you like to choose liver damage? Would you like to choose long-term blindness? Which, these wild things.
Yes. I want the seizures to go away, but can we also keep a liver?
Right. Exactly. And so they just feel very heavy. So I will say it wasn't easy making decisions the first couple years. And I don't think it's easy now, but it has gotten easier. Partly as I have developed confidence in myself. Grayson's my firstborn. I think any mom knows with her first child, you just feel so out in the wind and unsure what you're doing on anything. Yeah. So as I've grown in my own confidence in motherhood, I think that has helped the decision-making process and knowing what he needs moving forward.
And so I'm just assuming it's been TOTS the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
So TOTS got you connected with therapy at 8 months. You knew. And what kind of therapy was he doing at 8 months? Because they're not walking. Teach me. What were you guys doing in these offices?
At 8 months, we were doing PT and OT, and we started speech probably about 12 months. And when you're that little, you're doing a lot of strengthening. Grayson really hadn't met any milestones at that point. And that was sort of why I had pushed for us to get some sort of clinic opportunity before we really had a diagnosis, because he wasn't rolling over. He wasn't sitting up. I knew very early on something was going on. He would only nurse on one side. He would only kick his left leg. There are signs, but as a first-time mom, when you have, pediatrician or whoever else saying, it's fine. You go, oh, well, I must not know.
Right.
And I sort of was trained to ignore that mom gut. And so when he was little, it was a lot of crying, a lot of stretching and PT and OT, and just trying to get him to be able to sit up and hold his own weight or roll over. I'll never forget, we were in the hospital when we got that devastating news, and the PT at CHOA came in for several days, and the very last day we were there, she got him to roll over. And that was the first time it had ever happened. And I just felt like it was this little God wink saying, like, see, we're going to be okay. So that was a moment that was really neat to me. And, the therapists at TOTS are just incredible.
They're awesome.
They're wonderful. And we've been with most of the same ones since he was a baby. So we got very lucky in even being suggested to TOTS. So we've been there ever since, and they're wonderful.
Oh, that's awesome. And so you continued to do therapy, and TOTS said, hey, you need to go and get an orthotic and come to Alliance. What orthotic did we give you? I'm going to be HIPAA compliant. You can talk about whatever you want to talk about. Tell us as much as you want to talk about your orthotic interventions.
Sure.
And how you use them in therapy and why you use them.
I think I had to go back and look and find pictures to remember, but Grayson was 15 months old the first time we got casted, and it was the tiniest little pairs. I think we only started with SMOs, and then we quickly went to AFOs. And then about 18 months, he got his first constraint brace, which is for CIMT, or constraint-induced movement therapy. And he was the youngest one, I believe, to ever do that at TOTS. So he was this little baby thing that could barely hold himself up, but had, these braces on his hand and on his feet. And since then we have had, numerous sets of AFOs. We have a wrist orthosis. Is that how you
Very
say that?
good. Did you go to school for this?
That one's tricky.
Yes. Oh, all of these words. They could easily sound naughty.
Yes.
Very easily.
Yes. And we have a supinator strap. We have a lefty constraint brace. We have a nighttime brace for our right wrist. And we also have a nighttime brace for our right foot and leg. So we have all the limbs covered.
Every limb.
Yes.
Got it.
And for us, it's a set of tools.
Yeah.
It's something that allows us to help him in various ways. But for Grayson specifically, his leg braces help with strength. They help with support. When he was little, it was giving him strength to just be able to pull up and to stand. And he is walking now. He is talking. Awesome. He's running. So he's doing amazing. And those braces really, to this day, continue to help strengthen. They continue to help stretch. They fight some of the spasticity that he's dealing with. They help with correct positioning for the different limbs. So they really long-term are an essential tool, right, that he has and that he will likely need going forward.
Mm. So with all of these fun devices, I know you probably have a master's degree in insurance. So tell us how you've navigated the journey of insurance with all of these fun things.
I think that any mom who deals with insurance knows it's tricky and it's tough. I think that when you are dealing with insurance as often as we are, you just recognize that insurance and the healthcare system and the advocacy piece, it's truly its own beast.
It is.
And it is very time consuming. It is very frustrating, and they just don't make it easy sometimes for you to get what your child needs. But I think here at Alliance, you guys also help with that piece so much. As far as navigating and knowing timelines and knowing when they're likely to approve, even though the child is grown out of all of his shoes and braces, we still have to wait this window and things like that. So I think that having people on your team who also know the system and who are able to help you navigate that system and help lessen the paperwork and the phone calls and the messaging and the time that it really takes away from your family and from your children. I think it could be, at minimum a part-time job, possibly a full-time job.
Yeah. So, with all of those devices, it could be a full-time job for you. I'm pretty sure you logged some 40-hour weeks with those phone calls, especially the wait times. I will say my passion at the company is to help moms and dads and all of our patients navigate this because it is very complex. And knowing that your husband is a high school teacher, I'm assuming at I don't know what type of school, and we won't say the name, but that might make him a state employee, which that's a whole nother layer that you navigate. We're not saying insurance is bad. We're grateful that they pay.
Very grateful.
Very grateful because it's incredibly expensive to do all the things that you guys are doing, and it offsets that. Do you have any tips or tricks you would like to share? Because there's a mom on the other side who's in the middle of dealing with insurance or finding appointments and maybe getting a network that you do to make sure your son Grayson has everything he needs.
I think the squeaky wheel gets the oil. And again, gaining some confidence in my own voice as a mom and not really taking no for an answer. When Grayson was very little, I remember there would be just so many phone calls that I get off crying to my husband. They're not going to allow this, or they're not going to approve this, or insurance says we're at a limit for this. And insurance doesn't know your child. You know your child. You know what they need. And I found that if you keep pressing forward, call back, ask to speak to someone else, explain the situation, and have your team, have your PT or OT or speech therapist, have them make sure their documentation is what it needs to be. And TOTS is wonderful about that. But it's tricky. And here in the state of Georgia, we have the Katie Beckett waiver for Medicaid for pediatric disability, which is a huge blessing. It's a huge blessing, but that's its whole other system to try and navigate. And my advice would be to find another mom, find someone who is willing to talk you through it, that's done it before. I have several friends who I've been able to go to and say, in the application, how do we word this in the correct way? And they're very particular on things. And so finding someone who's navigated it ahead of you, I think has been helpful for me. And also I would also give the advice of give yourself grace to not feel the need to do all of that paperwork and phone call piece all the time. I think in the beginning with Grayson, I struggle with the balance of being his mom and being his advocate, if that makes sense.
It does.
And there were days where I just longed to be his mom, but I felt like I couldn't because I felt like I had to keep going forward. And sometimes the best thing you can do for your child is to just be that mom and just sit down and play and let those phone calls wait for just a minute. And eventually you'll get there. Eventually you'll find a moment to do that, that isn't taking you out of the present with your child. And I think if I could go back and tell myself something, that would be to just stay in that moment with my child instead of allowing the stresses of those other pieces, those extra pieces, to kind of take over.
That's good advice. Whether you're dealing with insurance or not.
Right.
That's
Absolutely.
a positive. I'm going to take that nugget back in my own personal life. I wanted to talk about Charlie.
Yeah.
What's it like having one kid who has kind of more of a high need? Not that Charlie doesn't have needs, but it's very different. Yes. How do you manage that? And for parents who have kids on both sides of the aisle, essentially, and the doctor's appointments, were you surprised when she met milestones, or how did it work for you?
There was a lot of anxiety, truly, if I'm being honest, around pregnancy and birth. And there is even a moment early on where she started showing some pattern movements, and I just panicked and called neurology, demanded an EEG for her as well. And
you already learned that.
She was completely fine. But I think you're a little more heightened with that, especially when your first child is the one that you experienced everything with. So we're pleasantly surprised, I guess is the best way to say it, when she hit everything. And she's wonderful. And I think there's a piece of mom guilt that oftentimes a lot of things rotate around Grayson as far as his schedule and the things that he needs, and working really hard to make sure Charlie feels seen and just as valued. And she's truly amazing. And I think that there is a special piece for siblings of children with disabilities who have maybe a greater capacity for empathy and are more understanding. And she's the kid who's going to include everyone. She's the kid who is going to help everyone. She's so thoughtful for her brother, for her family, for anyone she encounters. And I try to work very hard to make sure she has those moments too. Just little things like when Grayson's in therapy, Charlie and I have our little dates and we go do things just us, and trying to get that mommy and me time in as well. And working hard to make sure she doesn't feel like she's been left out in some way, which is hard at this age because she feels like Grayson is doing all these fun things.
Right.
They really aren't fun. They're therapy, and we're grateful she doesn't have to do them, but she doesn't quite understand yet why she can't do the things that she sees her brother doing. So I would say it's still tricky to navigate. I'm not sure I have advice for anyone quite yet. I'm not sure I've navigated that enough to know the best piece of it, but
I think you're doing a good job trusting your mom gut, knowing what your kid needs, and
thank you.
You're navigating it, building it while you fly it is how we parent.
Truly. Every mom,
every family.
Yeah.
And once you have it figured out, it doesn't work anymore. So
everything changes.
Everybody hits different milestones. I was thinking about Sheba, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Jason said, you got to ask her about this dog. and how you guys got this dog and what the name is and how important it is to your family.
So Sheba we got her about 6 weeks ago, so she's brand new. But I guess to start kind of back at the beginning, Grayson has had seizures really his whole life, and they've sort of transitioned and changed over time. But about 1.5 years ago, his seizures transitioned again and became more dangerous, more aggressive, I guess would be the right word. And there was a night that he came into my room and was in my bed, and I woke up to find him face down in a pool of liquid, choking on his own vomit, and comatose. So it was silent and it was still. There was no movement. There's no sound. I only woke up because Charlie happened to be in the bed as well and woke me up and said, "Mommy, Bubba's kicking me. Can you make him stop?" But he was rigid, so he couldn't move. So that was 2 ambulance rides later and a lot of med changes and not a lot of sleep. And he's been in our room ever since because of the way they present. There are no monitors for silent and still. And because of the aggressive vomiting, there's a greater chance for asphyxiation. So they're dangerous. So as you can imagine, as a parent, you're not sleeping much after that. So we were told that our best and probably only option for any sort of additional nighttime monitoring would be a dog. So my mom happened to find this article, I think in like Southern Living or something.
Good old Southern Living.
Where do you find anything, you know? So she sent me this article to this incredible organization, Canine Assistance. They are over in Milton, Georgia. So pretty close by. And we felt like it's probably a long shot. There's no way we're going to get this, but we'll apply. And the website said the wait list is usually about 5 years. So in our mind, we were applying for something that was happening 5 to 7 years down the road. And we were okay with that, but we were going to go ahead and get that process started. And from the time we applied to the time we got the phone call, was only about 9 months. So we happened to be invited to a placement camp over the summer because someone else had backed out. Someone else was not available to go. So we got a spot. And the way Canine Assistance places their dogs is through a bond-based approach, and the dogs choose the people. And it sounds a little wild, but when you witness it, it is powerful. It's beautiful. So Grayson met a couple dogs, and then they brought out Sheba, and they bonded. There's no other way to describe it. It was instantaneous, and she immediately started following him. She immediately just stood right there in his face, looking in his eyes, and she is just the sweetest dog. So they were placed together, and I text out my girlfriends to tell them the good news. And one of my girlfriends texted me back, and she was like, "Do you know that Sheba is Hebrew for promise?" And I get emotional with it. But again, it was just this God wink that told us, like, this is my promise. This is my promise to care for your son as I have for his entire life, and as I will continue to do. And it's really powerful meeting the animal that you're asking to help protect your child. So she's wonderful. She's a part of our family, and she's so smart, and we're so lucky. I mean, I think that there's no other way that we would have had this dog other than the Lord. Most people are on the list for years, and it was the Lord. There's no other answer to it. So,
wow, what a powerful story. And I'm thinking about the person who's listening right now, and they're wondering, what do I do? And our company is not a Christian company. It just happens to be run by 2 Christians. And we believe that everyone should experience the best that Christianity has to offer, because we are faith people. And I don't know if you knew that when you came to our clinic, when you were told, "Hey, come to here, this wild clinic in Brazelton." But what I'm wondering right now is if there's somebody on the other side who's wondering, how do I start? How do I start even? I know you're a faith person and someone wants to start faith today. What would they do?
I I think it's simply a matter of saying that I believe that you are here. I believe that you will care for me. I believe that you love me, and I'm going to trust in that promise and that foundation. We know that he is faithful, and he has been faithful in Grayson's story over and over. And I've known the Lord all my life, but since I've had Grayson and since I have seen his promises, his faithfulness, his provision, his protection, I truly feel like I know the Lord in a way that I never could have experienced otherwise. And I want others to know what that's like, because truly that's the only thing that carries me through most days. Because in the beginning, I knew there was such a heaviness of watching for his seizures and feeling like I was the only one who was able to protect him in that way. I had to be the one to have eyes on him to make sure he was safe, and feeling the weight of outcomes for him, especially as a COVID baby when we had telehealth PT for 8 months. It felt like the weight of how he would fare and what he would be able to do and the choices he'd have in the future. It felt like that was completely on my shoulders. And I have come to learn that I am not in charge of outcomes, but we serve a God who is faithful to bring things to completion. And they may not look the way we want them to look, and they may not be what we were hoping for and what we imagined. But I firmly believe that on the other side, those outcomes are better than I could have planned for my son. I would take away his pain in a heartbeat, but I have learned that I don't think I would change anything about him, because I know that there was no mistake. And that's sometimes hard to accept. And I want my son to recognize that he is perfect. He is perfect just the way he is on this earth. And we talk a lot about heaven, and he knows that his body will be restored, that there will be no more brain boo-boo, that Righty will not have a hard time. And he understands where that power and authority comes from for that. But there's no mistake. I don't wish this on my child. I wouldn't hope for this in any way for anyone. But I don't believe that God was wrong in any way in the formation of my child. And I think that there's so much that we can learn from these kids. There's so much that I can learn from Grayson, and so much that I get to see about our Heavenly Father that I wouldn't have seen otherwise.
Wow. I'm so challenged in my own faith by what you just shared. I really am. And I think the other half of our audience, they're angry. They're really angry that this is their story and this is their kid's story. Could you speak to them? Could you, if they were sitting in front of you and you had a fellow mom who was just so angry?
Yeah. And I hear that. And, please hear that this is not all rainbows and butterflies.
No one here
I
thinks
have
that.
faith, truly I have wrestled with the Lord over my son. And I understand that anger. And it's a righteous anger as a mother who wants to protect her child. And I would just say that the Lord can take your anger, bring it to him. We know that in one of my favorite books is Psalms, and I think it's because there is this piece of lamenting side by side with praise and with joy, and recognizing the grief, because it truly is grief that you experience as a mother when you see these things for your child, and that can commingle with joy, that joy is present even in the grief, and that anger is allowed, that anger is justified. And if you can bring that to the Lord, if you can lay that down and just tell him, I'm angry over this. I'm tired over this. I'm heartbroken over this. And he hears that and he feels that with you. He's not oblivious to those emotions. We do not serve a God who is only okay with us coming to him when we're happy and thankful and things are good. It's okay to not be thankful for your child's diagnosis and to be upset by that. I think we wouldn't be human otherwise. And I guess that's my only advice, is to lay it down at the cross, because he's a God who wants us to come to him with that.
Mm.
So
that's so well said. And where I stand on that. So I want people to know that if you're not there yet, you don't have the ability to get there, find people who are.
Yes.
And talk about your community. Who are you connected with? Because you don't do this kind of life on your own.
No. And I think that it's essential over anything else, maybe.
Yeah.
Is that community. And I remember when Grayson was first diagnosed, my sister got me a book by Jay and Catherine Wolfe. It's called Hope Heals.
Yeah.
And it was the first book on disabilities really that I'd ever read. And it was the first time I'd been introduced to the concept of a good, hard story, that you have a beautiful story that the Lord is writing. Your child has a beautiful story, but that doesn't eliminate the hard in your story. That doesn't negate the beautiful, because the hard is there. And that sort of shifted my perspective a little bit in recognizing it was okay to be angry. It was okay to not be okay with it. And I think you find your people. And I have an incredible group of mom friends who don't have children with disabilities, but they love me well. They love my kids, especially Grayson, well. They're very patient with all the things that he has to navigate. And then I just started meeting people at the clinic. I truly sat in waiting rooms for Grayson so often, or sat in with him for therapy so often, that I kind of started seeing the same moms, and you just start talking. And my advice would be to be open to those relationships that may not be in your immediate circle, but some of the most beautiful friendships I found are literally sitting in tots when we're all in intensives together, and you're there for 3 hours a day with your kids, and you just start talking, and all our kids are very different, but you recognize that the story is still the same. Your experiences are still the same. And I have the opportunity to pick up my phone and text those moms and say, these seizure meds are making us a mess. And this therapy is just really challenging us right now. Or I am just having a really hard day of being okay with any of it. And I think allowing people into your story is the only way you can move forward, truly. So I think just finding your people, whoever that may be, and being open to help, asking for help, which for me is not easy.
Oh, me too.
So just allowing that. I think that's advice for any mom. I think every mom needs her tribe.
Yep.
And find your tribe, whatever that looks like, that is going to love on you, that's going to love on your kid.
No, that's so beautifully said. I want to talk about the marriage. So something I've tracked, because Jason and I have been doing this since 2016, and the families that are able to make marriage work. Mm-hmm. As you know, disability puts so much strain on marriages. How do you and your husband make it a priority and make Grayson's disability not something y'all divide? It divides y'all, but it really is something that you guys are doing together.
Yeah. It's hard. It
is
not easy.
Yeah.
I think marriage is hard anyway. And there's so many,
we love you, Jason.
Strains. There's so many strains on any marriage, but I think that you add in this element of a child who has all these extra needs. And along with these extra needs, there are decisions to make, big decisions, and navigating disagreeing on therapy or med changes and things like that, it's just sort of a heightened emotional state when you're making those kind of decisions about your child. And I'm not sure that regardless of disability in children, I don't think that my marriage would make it without Jesus anyway. I think
Agreed.
that's our like bottom line. But then I think too, just open communication and to be transparent. It's not easy. It's something that we're still constantly trying to navigate and readjust and change course to figure things out. It does add an element that's a little trickier for things like date night. It's harder to leave our child with someone. We can't simply hire a high school babysitter to come watch our kids, especially if Grayson's going to bed. So there's this piece where we have to get a little bit more creative about how we spend our time and making sure that there is that time. And so most nights we're mostly just too tired to do anything, but we try to make time to sit down. We used to play chess and then our brains got too tired. So we started playing dominoes instead.
Smart move.
So we'll do that and trying to make sure that our time on the weekends is very protected as a family. And Mickey is a very patient man. I think there's a special place in heaven for him for putting up with me. But he's our grounding for our family. He's the one that when I'm challenged with my emotional state, I'm regulating my own self and being overwhelmed and overstimulated and, over decision making and all of those things, he's the one to say like, okay, I think we need a minute. We're just gonna go for a walk, or we're gonna go outside, or we're gonna do something different here. And we've had to learn that. And I think we're still learning that, but making sure you're saying like, hey, we're on the same team here.
Yep. And
I think that is sort of the foundation of like, it's us versus the challenge that we're facing. Yep. And how do we tackle that together?
Oh, that's such good advice. Whether you have a kid with disabilities or not, married couples face challenges together. Yeah. And when you fight together, not against each other, there's so much power in that.
Yeah.
That's great advice. I know you have a whole slew of people to thank. And I just thought, you know what? This lady, she has a microphone. Why don't you thank some people that you really want to tell them, thank you for being my people.
I get emotional with that. I think my husband, first and foremost, he works incredibly hard to make sure that I am home with Grayson. And if I wasn't home, Grayson wouldn't get the things he needs. We truly believe that he's made the gains he's made first because of the Lord, but secondly, because we have been so intentional with our time and our care for him. And that wouldn't be possible if my husband was not working his tail off for me to be home. So I'm so thankful for that. And for him just being a partner that supports and loves our family well. He's such a great dad. There's a lot of additional challenges in parenthood for a kiddo like Grayson that you're dealing with some brain damage and things. And he's patient and he's kind and he's funny. So he's our rock, truly.
Yeah.
And our group, my little group of moms that are around us are just, they're the ones that I pick up the phone and say, hey, I have to go to an appointment that I can't take Charlie to. And it would just be really helpful to be able to talk to the doctor without navigating both kids in the room. And they're the first to jump up and say like, I got it. And I'm just incredibly thankful for the encouragement and the knowledge and the wisdom that they all speak into my life, because it's truly coming from just a place of spiritual uplifting. And it's women who encourage me in my marriage and my motherhood, who are, a shoulder to cry on and, a celebration together for whatever milestone we've hit. So, and then my parents are probably the only ones who we get to go on a date night when we have them up here visiting, because they're able to keep Grayson, they're able to watch him, they're able to kind of make sure they know how to use the rescue meds and those sorts of things. So we're very thankful when JoJo and Papa come into town. That's where my kids are right now, so I can record this.
Oh, wow.
And gosh, I mean, there's just so many. It's hard to pinpoint everyone. This is not something that I think that motherhood and parenting isn't something you can navigate alone. We're not meant to.
No.
It's not how it's designed. So I think that any mom would say that it takes an entire community.
It does. No, that's so beautiful. And I hope all those people listening get a little lift knowing how grateful you are. And we're grateful that you get to be here. So that care team, we appreciate it.
Thank you, JoJo and Papa.
Yes, thank you, JoJo and Papa. Now, I wanted to shift and I wanted to see, and because we talked so much faith, I know you're able to do it. And I would love for you to pray for a mom who I'm praying there's somebody who sent it to her and she just needs some encouragement. And you can pray for her and you can think maybe their kid has CP, maybe they don't, maybe they are just traveling a different road of special needs, but they need strength and wisdom. And I think you're the right person for the job.
Thank you. Heavenly Father, goodness, we come humbly before you right now, Lord. We know that motherhood is a road that is challenging to walk, really mostly because we love those babies so fiercely, Lord, and we care so deeply. And we know that sometimes caring so deeply can cause us to feel anxious and fearful. And I just pray for the mother who's listening right now who may feel alone in that, Lord, and that is the enemy trying to isolate. And we just pray that you would help them to find people and bring people around them who would just support her and love on her and lift her up, who would be able to offer wisdom and knowledge and advice and just a hug every now and then, Lord. I pray for the mom who just doesn't feel seen, Lord. We see you. We know that you see her. You see her child. You see the work that she is doing day in and day out for her children. And we just pray that you would remind her she is doing a great work, Lord, and she will not come down from that wall until it is done. We pray that your presence would just envelop those that are listening, Lord, that they would feel supported, that they would feel loved, that they would not feel alone, Lord. Please remind these mothers and these people listening that they are enough, that you are enough for them, that they are doing enough, Lord, and that you will fill in the gaps that they feel like they have failed in, that they feel like they have let someone down in. And we know that you have all that we need, Lord. You are capable. You are the only one capable of filling in those gaps for our children, Lord. You are the God of outcomes. You know the future. You have that planned out. You know every minute, Lord. And we are so thankful for that. We are so thankful that we don't have to determine the future for them, Lord. You carry these children in your hands. You carry these mothers in your hands. And we just pray that they would feel that presence very deeply today. We love you so much. Amen.
Wow, that was beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am encouraged to move forward and parent in a way that is more trusting to what I have been dealt. And I appreciate you opening up and sharing how you and your husband, Mickey, are navigating this time with your son and your daughter. And I really appreciate you. Thank you so much, Kristen.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Were you inspired or challenged today? If so, connect with us. Follow the links in the description box below. We want to hear from you. Until next time, thanks for listening to the Alliance Goal Digger podcast.